Okay, so this hive is on the weaker side, and let's check out how weak it is, why it's weak, and if we should combine it or leave it or what. So I've got some pollen patty that they are working on, which is, again, always a good sign. I can see right off the bat, this was a hive that we had put foundation on after we harvested honey, and they just didn't draw out much of that foundation. So they've got almost no bees in the second box. One frame of honey. It's not fully capped, which is fine. And 2 frames of honey. So they've got 2 frames of honey. Everything else, a little bit of brood on that frame of honey, but mostly just a frame of honey. Everything else is just foundation. So maybe a cumulative frame of bees in this hive, but pretty good bee population in the bottom. I mean, they've got, I'm going to say 7 frames of bees in the bottom, at least. So most of the activity is going on in the bottom box here. So let's make sure they've got a queen. We did see a bit of brood up in that second box, so it was just cat brood, so I really want to see some eggs and larvae. You know, most hives, you should still have eggs and larvae in them this time of year. There we go. So there's some good brood. Yeah, so I'm seeing some eggs and larvae in there. Got some good brood. Let's see how many frames of brood I've got. 1, 2, 3. 3 good frames of brood. Couple good frames of honey down here. Another good frame of honey. So this is a good example of a hive that doesn't really need that second box. They've got a couple frames of honey up there. And look, they've got a pretty much empty frame down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to consolidate this hive into one box. So I've got my brood in the middle, frame of honey and frame of pollen. And I'm going to take that one frame from the bottom box that was really full of honey. I'm sorry, the top box that was really full of honey and had some brood on it, this frame. And since it has some brood, I'm going to put it right next to the brood in this bottom box. Because remember, you always want to keep brood together. So I'm going to put it in this bottom box. My beetle blaster back in. By the way, you can take these beetle traps out in a couple of weeks. So I would leave them in until maybe mid to late October. Then those can be pulled out. And so I've got pretty much a good box full of bees now. I've got all the honey that pulled out of the second box into the first box. I'm going to shake the bees, whatever bees are left in this top box. I'm going to shake them into the bottom box. And there you go. So that was a good hive that was a great candidate for combining everything into just one box. That top box, again, had almost nothing in it. Everything that they had of value, pretty much I was able to get it into this box. And we'll leave this hive a single throughout the winter. And they should do just fine. Now, another option is that if you have a dead hive, that a different hive that died that was full of honey, you could take a full box of honey that you pulled off a dead hive and put it on top of a hive like this. In fact, I've got one, and that's what I'm going to do. Since if this box were maybe only half full of bees, I wouldn't bother. But since it's a box pretty much full of bees, it's not going to hurt to take one of your hives that died but was full of honey and put it on top, just to make sure that this hive has plenty of honey throughout the winter. And now they'll also, as a side benefit, they'll take care of this box of honey for me, and I don't have to worry about storing it for next year. So this was just a hive that had died but was pretty much full of honey, and it solves 2 problems. Now I don't have to worry about storing it, and I'll make sure this hive that had nothing in their second box now has plenty of honey to survive the winter.